Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And normally at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets would be Joe Crazy Writer, but there was a problem with the beginning of the recording of this podcast. So rather than fire everything up and try to get Joe on the line, instead I'm just going to give the opening, and what we talked about before the recording got better. We are doing our monthly previews issue, where every month we go through previews. We do not point out the stuff that we normally buy. We do not say, oh, and on this, I buy this, and this. We point out new series, we point out trade paperbacks, and we point out things that we find interesting that we may not be buying ourselves. We may recommend things that we already have, or we may recommend things that would not appeal to us but may appeal to somebody else. And the first thing that I brought up is that now they're doing a Halloween Comic Fest. They've been doing this for a while, but I noticed that this year there are a lot of what they call regular full-size comics, and Marvel has 4 comics that are kind of, hey, look, here's stuff that's going on, such as the Miles Morales Spider-Man #0, the Iron Man Road to Iron Man 2020, Ghost Rider King of Hell, and Star Wars Boba Fett #1. And I wonder, I have not been to any of the Halloween Comic Fests. I do remember for the longest time they've put out mini comics that you could buy in bundles of 25 to give away on Halloween. I actually remember doing that one year, and the kids looked at me as if I was evil because there was no candy involved. So I then learned the next year to have candy and comics. But on Saturday, October 26th, participating retailers will open their doors for the 7th Annual Halloween Comic Fest, where you can expect plenty of spooky fun, costumes, candy, and free comics. So I'm going to see what comic shops in my area are participating. Hopefully they'll have a big sale, and I will go in and drop some money, because whenever they're doing the free comic giveaway, drop some money, because they're not free for the comic shop. They're not free for the publisher. This is basically a way to get you in the door to buy things. So I am looking to go in the door and buy things. The first publisher that we discussed was Image. The first gem of the month was November, book 1 of 3 hardcover by Matt Fraction and Elsa Charretier. It's a 80-page hardcover for $16.99, and this is one where if it were cheaper, I would be all over it, because I love Matt Fraction's writing. But if I'm going to pay $17 3 times for a story that's only, what, 240 pages long, I'm sorry, 240 pages is a standard graphic novel, and I'm having to pay, you know, over $30 to get 3 books that would tell that story. I think this is, while it's an interesting concept, and I like the fact that it's an original graphic novel, I think the serialization in hardcovers at that price is kind of a poor choice. Joe is excited about SH, Safe Sex #1, written by Tina Horn and drawn by Michael Dowling. In a draconian America where sexuality is bureaucratized and policed, a group of queer sex workers keep the magic alive with an underground club called the Dirty Mind. There is a 3-page preview where it shows kind of what this world is like. A married couple has sex, and they have to report it to the government via a form. So Joe is excited about that. I was excited about Battle Pug #1, which is a new series by Mike Norton. This Battle Pug was a web series that lasted a long time. I did pick up the compilation, which reprinted all the web strips. Battle Pug is a fantasy novel where instead of horses, they ride pugs. It's Mike Norton. It's a lot of fun. This is one I will buy in trade paperbacks because I know it'll be collected, and stuff reads better in collections to me. But if you were a fan of Battle Pug, this is finally you get a continuation. If you're not a fan of Battle Pug, this is a good jumping on point, and I recommend it. It's a lot of fun. We also pointed out that there is they solicit for Walking Dead number 195, and we all know Walking Dead ended with 192, but I do think it's pretty funny that in the back matter they said that they were through the covers kind of hinting that there was a time jump where Carl got killed. So on this cover, it looks like Carl's been stabbed with Michonne's sword. And it says, "The swordsman strikes. This is the end of the line. But for whom?" We then went into Dark Horse. Joe recommended Everything, which is a new one of the Karen Berger edited books. It's written by Christopher Cantwell, who was co-creator on the excellent AMC series Halt and Catch Fire. Halt and Catch Fire is a series that was based in the early days of home computing and went from the late 70s up into the early 90s. It just concluded, and it's available on Hulu. I cannot recommend that series enough. This is Everything is a gleaming new mega department store which arrives to extraordinary thrills, and rapidly escalates to inexplicable mania in the small town of Holland, Michigan, when random hellish fires and unshakable psychic disturbances start to overtake the community. A few, like depressive out-of-towner Lori and suspicious local named Rick, begin to suspect Everything and its catalog perfect manager, Shirley. It does not say it's a miniseries, says it's an ongoing. Karen Berger, who ran Vertigo when Vertigo was great. Really excited about that. The recording picks up now, so I want to thank you for listening to this improv opening, and here's the rest of the show. Then the second volume of The Massive, which is a series by Brian Wood and drawn by Gary Brown. Civilization has crashed. There is a boat that has a let's see here. There's a boat that has a huge number of people on it called the Massive, because people have to live on the sea. The Massive has gone missing, and this series is about the people who try to find it. This is the second omnibus and collects, I think, the rest of the series. So if you buy the 2 volumes, you've got the entire series. There was a mini series that came after. I don't know what they're going to do with that, if they'll just keep that as a regular or if they'll piece together a third omnibus. There is also a series on page 110, another omnibus, Witchfinder, which is another of the Mike Mignola series. These are the collected adventures of England's greatest occult investigator. When the man called the Witchfinder becomes an agent of the Queen, he is led from the sparkling echelons of Victorian England to its dark underbelly through the American West to explore the mysteries of Unland. It's Mike Mignola. Do I need to say any more? No, I don't think so.
No, it's Mike.
And that was it for Dark Horse for me, other than the stuff I regularly get. I did not see Mystery Science Theater 3000 this month.
No, I did see
a break, or are they done?
Page 108, there's a miniseries I'm going to jump on called Steeple. John Allison, Sarah Stern. It's John's doing the stuff. Sarah's doing some of the covers. It's a 5-issue miniseries, a supernatural tale of friendship, the devil, and moral gray areas. A quick 1-page preview on the actual page, and I'm like, you know what? For a 5-issue series, I'll give this one a shot. So, but yeah, other than that, I will mention. I don't know if we wanted to wait and do this at the end, but I always like to mention things that, although we're not on it, maybe you might. But if you have friends who are enjoying Stranger Things, the second volume is out from Dark Horse, being pre-ordered on page 102. Number 1, I believe, is already out. So if you're, we're mid-July, but Christmas ain't that far away, so this might be the time to pick up that. And if I was a comic shop, I would definitely be picking these 2 up and have them prominently displayed, hopefully in a windows for someone to come by. And because I read the first one, and what they're doing is it's fitting in stories that they're alluding to, and I don't think it's a big spoiler because the first season's been out for a while. But in Stranger Things Volume 1, we deal with the kid who disappears for the whole season. He gets better, don't worry, because he's in season 2 and 3, which really isn't a spoiler, but it deals with where he was, what he was dealing with, and they don't really cover that in the show because it's it takes away from part of the show. But I definitely point that out for you, your stranger friends out there.
And now we go to DC.
All right, let me find, where did I put that supplement? Where did I put the supplement? Okay, well, you start. I got to find out where my supplement goes. Here, supple.
Well, one of the things that I noticed is that they are having what they call cardstock variant covers in September. And I guess they've had these before where they're actually using cardstock for the covers, so it costs a little more. So got another special cover enhancement. How long until we get the embossed covers and the hologram covers? And
they might come back. I mean, when we were at St. Cloud, one guy picked up one of the was it the Villain Month lenticular covers?
Yep.
So yeah, if there's a thing for it, I like the one thing that's interesting about the cardstock cover is that they're usually not predominantly logoed. They're not virgin covers because they do still put the price in the cover and all that fun stuff. But I've seen a few of them, and they look nice. So for me, it would be an issue of, is the cover art worth the extra buck? So far, no. But there's been a few books on titles that I don't collect where I've seen the art they're offering, and I'm kind of like, oh, wow. So, or who knows, maybe I just gave DC an idea for a book later on. Here's all the artwork for this. All these $1 million ideas we give away. Are you going for Harleen?
I am not, but before that, there is a Powers hardcover, which is an original hardcover, and they say it is the final story of Christian Walker. Powers has been plagued over the years by, hey, it's a new #1, and we're going to be on schedule, and then they're never on schedule.
Yep.
But I like the fact that, okay, fine, here's the entire story arc in one book. It's a all original hardcover for $24.99, 208 pages. Powers is a series that I've always enjoyed, and it's constantly marred by delays to where eventually I just went, I'm not going to buy it as a comic anymore, because you'll get 2 parts of the story, and then you wait a year, and here's the 3rd part of the story, and then 6 months, here's the 4th part of the story, and by the time you get to the 5th part, you don't remember anything.
And do you know why I'm not ordering it, even though I do have it?
Because you're going to get the soft cover?
Yep, because every other one I've got is a soft cover, and a hardcover sticking out like that just doesn't work. So, but yeah, I would also recommend that if you're, poor like me. And really, I mean, $24.99, not a bad deal, because the hardcover or the softcover would probably be, $19.99. But either way, I'll wait. I can wait.
And for Harleen, that's a Black Label book.
Yeah, I was kind of curious on that. Are all Black Label books going to be oversized?
I don't know. I know they will be aimed at adults. Because
I did notice that with, I got my box day, which I can't talk much about because I haven't even got a chance to unpack it other than grabbing the previews out. So I'll probably blab about that more next week. But I did get the last Batman one. I believe it's penis free, isn't it? No, never mind. But I did get Superman Year 1 or Part 1 or whatever the Frank Miller thing is doing, and that was oversized too. And I'm wondering if Harleen is 8.5 by 10 and all right, let's see, 10.
Carry the 4.
Oh, let's see. No, I'm actually measuring my comic. I think it's going to be a little bigger because 8.5. Yeah, it'll be at the height of a comic, but it'll be wider. So maybe that's the format. Maybe they're doing that in order to enhance the art. And like you said, there's always a stigma. Oh, you're reading a comic book, but if you had a copy of Harleen or whatever in front of you, maybe that's the gimmick, part of the Black Label gimmick, to make it look more adult.
Ooh.
But 3 issues, I'll try it. Maybe by the time I read the Superman one, I'll be going, you know what? I'm not gonna want to read Black Label anymore, or just pick and choose. But so far, I can't pronounce the guy's name. or woman, I don't even know, Stepan Sajic, doing the art, doing the cover, doing the variants. And it's kind of an origin story of Harley Quinn. So whether you're into that or not, I'm just curious to see. So, and I was that way when Vertigo popped up, Piranha, Young Guns, Helix.
We're also getting a return of the Legion of Superheroes by Brian Michael Bendis. And Bendis said in a recent interview, the Legion was one of the things that brought him over to DC. So I have been saying for quite a long time, it's time to bring the Legion back. So hopefully, this is decent. The Legion series by Mark Waid I liked until Jim Shooter came on. And, I know people like Jim Shooter, but man, he was writing stuff that was just out of whack with current sensibilities. I was reading that book and it really felt like a bad 80s comic. And that killed it. The sales continued to drop until it died. Legion is one of those ideas that I think is one of DC's better just ideas. Superheroes in the 1,000 years from now. And I also liked it when Marvel did it with the original Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm excited about this. Ryan Sook is doing the character redesigns. I just hope they don't
call himself Brian. It'd be easier. Let's just everybody at DC, call yourself Brian. Trust me, it worked for Marvel. It'll work for you.
Let's just hope it doesn't do like other things with the Legion have done where, we're rebooting it, so we have to retell all the original stories. No, don't. Move forward. Go ahead. You don't need to. You don't need those stories again.
You can get into it as the story goes. And I'm excited about this myself. I'd like to see the Legion. I know online people are split. They're like, oh my God, Bendis is going to ruin it. Ruin what? There hasn't been any Legion in so long. I imagine there's been clues dropped here and there as to what's going on. I've been trying to follow it because they're always like, well, this character was from the 41st century. He's hanging 31st. This person is from the 20th, hanging up forward. A lot of rumors in there. I think I'm just going to ignore it and just have some fun with it. The Millennium thing is only 2 issues, and I'm assuming leads into a regular series because a lot of pomp and circumstance coming out. Who is the mysterious woman from today stranded in the future? See, they're doing it already. Other than that, I'm not buying any this month, but I'm giving kudos because DC is coming out with some $1 comics. And this month, I'm not that interested in it, but I will keep a look at it to see what they're going to do, how far back they're going to reprint. So far, just like this month was Detective 854, which was, I believe, the first Batwoman. And then 608 was the first in Hush, first Crisis. I mean, the real one, the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And then the first issue of Harley Quinn, way back from the debut issue in the New 52. So kind of an interesting mix of stuff. And DC, welcome to the party. Between that and the all the other guys doing dollar issues. And then, of course, the facsimile editions. This month, the one that struck me is the 181, which is, I believe, the first Poison Ivy. I'm not getting it, but I do like that. I think it's kind of fun. I have a lot of friends who, they're always pimping me for comic book information, even though they're talking comic movies, I'm talking comic books. But it'd be nice to pull out like a $1 comic and say, here, read this first Hush. If you like it, you can get the rest. Oh, do you have it? Oh, I don't borrow my books out. Nope. Other than that, I have nothing else other than the things I already collect, including graphic novels. Can you believe it? There were
a lot of graphic novels.
I'll sit back and I call it. There are times when Corey will mention something and I get so excited I write it down and order it. So I'm going to sit back and let Corey tempt me.
Well, the first is the final of the Crisis on Infinite Earths Companion Deluxe Edition. This is Volume 3. They're not called omnibuses, but they may as well be, of all of the tie-ins to Legion, to the Crisis. And this has, let's see here, Amethyst, Blue Devil, Wonder Woman, which actually will have the end of the original Wonder Woman series. Swamp Thing, Legion of Superheroes. Let's see here. Superman, DC Comics presents. Justice League of America Annual, Omega Men. This is the third one, so if you have the other two, this basically wraps it all up. And now you have the complete Crisis on Infinite Earth story. Let's see. I was mildly amused by the fact that Doomsday Clock, they are splitting it into 2 hardcovers.
Ooh.
So,
well, then probably an omnibus years later.
Because Watchmen, the original, has been 1 book for all of eternity. But, oh no, we want you to buy this thing twice. It's going to cost you $50 to get the Doomsday Clock hardcover.
No, thanks. Cut down.
There is a Doom Patrol by John Byrne omnibus that I will ignore the same way I ignored the series, because Byrne kind of went in and said, everything everybody else has done is shit, and I'm rewriting it all. If you notice on the TV series, they didn't use any of John Byrne's stuff. They used the Grant Morrison stuff. House of Mystery, the Bronze Age Omnibus, Volume 2. House of Mystery was a horror anthology. I love these in the DC Showcase, but this actually reprints stuff that weren't in the DC Showcase books. And I like these, and I can't imagine how beautiful that Filipino art will be on the nice paper. Because what it was, in order to cut costs, they made a deal with a couple art agents in the Philippines to draw these stories, because they could pay them a lot less. But the art that they turned in was just gorgeous. And it always suffered from the terrible printing they had in the 70s. And even in the showcase, the art looked much better. So I'm looking forward to that. On the page next to it, Jonah Hex, the Bronze Age Omnibus, Volume 1. I'm not getting this because I have the showcases.
Yeah, and I just sold my showcase, and so that is on the maybe list, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get it.
Again, this is some beautiful stuff. Tony DeZungia, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. The cover is actually by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
And art is also done by others.
The thing that I love about this book is this is not your typical Western. This was heavily influenced by spaghetti Westerns. Jonah Hex himself is amoral. He's a bounty hunter. The stories are much darker and grimmer than you're used to with Western comics. Yesterday, at the convention, I picked up a couple issues of Rawhide Kid, which are basically superhero stories where the setting is the Old West and the lead character his superpower is that he shoot a gun perfectly. These are not, I'm going to shoot the gun out of that owl hoot's hand. Nope. And,
damn, I hate them owl hoots.
Yep, this is a very dark, gritty for its time Western, very much influenced by the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars, and for a few dollars more. Let's see, what else jumped out at me? I think, Vamps, the complete collection. I noticed that they say that it's coming out under DC Vertigo. I imagine when it comes out, it'll be a Black Label book. This was a series by Elaine Lee and Will Simpson. It's a gang of female vampires from the 80s. Very well done. Lots of fun. A really good horror book.
You know, in a similar vein, back on page 75 is a series that I'm going to buy in trade paperback. I didn't mention it because I got a lot of decision making to do when I finally do the final cut. Hex Wives, written by Ben Blacker, Mirka and Dolflo, and Dolfo. Hundreds of years, a war has been waged between a coven of perpetually reincarnated witches and the all-male conspiracy known as the Architects. And again, it's DC Vertigo, due out in October, so we'll see where that goes. But that's almost like a counterpoint to Vamps. And I thought about Vamps, but I have the originals, and I'm always tempted to go graphic novel and get rid of them. But those are two that I don't know. Why wasn't I born rich instead of so good looking?
The last thing I want to point out is Wonder Woman Volume 1, The Just War. That is the first collection of G. Willow Wilson's Wonder Woman, which I highly enjoy. Carrie Nord's art is unbelievably good. Just so damn good. You may know him from his run on the Dark Horse Conan. This is a really good Wonder Woman series, and Wonder Woman's a character that I don't much care for, so it takes a lot for me to give a damn about Wonder Woman. G. Willow Wilson's a writer that she's the creator of the original, of the newest Ms. Marvel, and really liking her stuff. And that's it for DC for me.
On to IDW.
Holy cats, is that a lot of licensed books?
The only one I'm going to mention, and I have zero interest in ordering it, but if you're a fan of Napoleon Dynamite, he's back. I say that because when I got home yesterday, my wife was watching Poltergeist, so I sat down and watched the rest of it with her. It's kind of fun, because not a lot of CGI in, but it has nothing to do with it. Napoleon Dynamite. If you are so inclined, go to page 155 and let your retailer know that you want it. And of course, the headline: Impeach Pedro. So that is definitely one of those that I mentioned. If you're a fan of the ND. Other than that, just the regulars.
I did not even see anything from Yo Books.
Yeah,
we
looked. The other thing too, and IDW does a lot of stuff in the back. I mean, they have some really cool. They're always doing the artist editions, they're reoffering the old ones, but they also have a number of games. So again, a lot of this stuff is not coming out till later this year, but we're only a few, 6 months away from Christmas. So you might want to take a peek. I mean, some of it's out, like the Invader Zim Doomsday Dice game. But if you're a Ghostbusters fan, there's another Ghostbusters game, things like that. So I gave an endorsement to them and other companies like Dynamite and Boom and Oni that, for licensed stuff, those are the guys to take a peek at, because you never know. I don't read Transformers. I don't read G.I. Joe. I don't do the Turtles, but they are. And just because we don't mention it doesn't mean you shouldn't take a look. Okay, I'm ready for the next one, boss.
Marvel. We got a Spider-Man mini-series by J.J. Abrams and his son.
It's
basically,
what you
J.J.
know.
Abrams.
Who you know.
J.J. Abrams gave his son the idea, and his son's doing the writing.
Hey,
Sarah Pichelli's doing the art, so it's going to be
J.J. Pichelli. Abrams and Pichelli. Oh yeah. Okay, 5-issue miniseries. I'll get a lot of heat online because of the name drop, but I'll give it a shot. I'm always game for a good miniseries.
Let's see what else jumped out at me that's brand new.
I got my own magazine coming.
1001.
Yeah, it's ongoing. I will recommend. They're doing a magazine on me. Page 25. I mean, they spelt it wrong, but hey, it's me.
Crazy?
Don't mind if I do. Yeah, they're doing a reprint of Crazy 1. I don't know if this was planned
or this is not a reprint. This is brand new.
Oh, that's even better. And again, I don't know if they had this planned or if it just they're doing that to kind of tweak the fact that Mad is disappearing.
Oh, I want to mention in DC, Mad number 10 is solicited. That is the last issue of new material. So if you want to get the last issue of Mad, there it is.
I already did that 7 months ago.
That was the other last issue.
Yeah, no.
No, with Crazy, this is part of their 80th anniversary thing they're doing, where they do one issue of an old series.
Yeah, so I recommend that. I'm not big on one-shots because after I get them, I'm like, what the hell did I do this for? But I'm looking forward to this one just because, I can maybe do they have a blank variant? Because then I can just cross that out and put KRAYZ instead of,
I do know that Don Simpson is doing some art for it because he's been posting that online.
Oh, I love Don Simpson's art. Awesome
Man
stuff.
From Megaton Man.
And if you look at I talked about Border Worlds a while back. Somebody finds out which episode, hey, I got Joe prizes sitting here. I got 1,000 of these things printed up and nobody's taking them. Joe prizes, if you go back to one of our podcasts over the last 9 years, and how many episodes?
417, I believe.
And you find the one that we referred to, I will mail you a Joe prize. So I will not mail you a copy of the Web of Black Widow. And I'm on the fence on this one. I think, here would be a good case is if they could actually preview the art. I mean, the covers look fine, but I'm always wary of, oh yeah, there's a great looking cover. You go inside and like, ugh.
Well, the cover they're showing is drawn by Megan Hetrick, who's an artist I enjoy so much. I've actually bought prints from her.
And it's a variant cover too, so I don't even know if I can get that variant cover, being that it's so high price. It might be a high price. I haven't looked it up.
On the next page is King Thor, which is the 4-issue miniseries concluding Jason Aaron's run on Thor, which has been going for 5 years. So this is the end of his story, and again, I will buy this as a trade.
Yeah, I will. I missed the first trade when they're reprinting it all in the big $30, $40 trades, and I've gone back and looked for it, and all I see are the smaller ones where they do every 6 issues. I'm just going to resign and wait for the omnibus, I guess. Could be a lot of frickin' omnibuses. How long? He's been doing this run for a long time.
Yeah, 5 years.
So that's okay. I waited for the Hickman run on Avengers in omnibus form. The True Believers this month are all Hulk related. I've got most of these issues in some form or other. I will probably buy a few because I have a friend at work who is really big on the Hulk, and this is how I kind of feed his urging to read it. The only one I'm getting will be the Journey into Mystery number 62, the Other Hulks, because I do believe I have never read that, and I'm really big on that. For $1, oh hell yeah!
And does Joe know this Hulk actually came back? What was its name when it came back?
Brute?
Zemu.
Zemu.
Xemu. Zemu.
Hulk is only Hulk there is. I kill Zemu.
Let's see. That's all the new stuff. I do want to point out Black Cat #1 was the best-selling comic last month, which surprises me.
Yeah, I did look at it, and I'm kind of like, no thanks. Now, I will buy, I'm not big on a lot of the Marvel #1s, because what they're doing is as part of the 8th anniversary, doing a lot of one-shots. And I will pick up this one, though, Amazing Spider-Man Going Big. It's Gary Conway, Eric Larson, and I'm doing it because I love Eric Larson. There's going to be some Mark Bagley art in there, $4.99, and he's doing well. They don't really talk about it, but it's for a one shot, I'll give it a shot. If I like the creative team, I will definitely go for it.
And they do have another one where Roger Stern is doing an Avengers story with Ron Lim. I believe it is called Loki. Yep, Loki Unleashed. So I really like those. I like that, okay, let's reach back to some of the older creators, have them do one more story. I've always loved the idea of doing that. And I often said, while Stan was alive, hey, Stan and John Romita Sr., let them get together, do a big graphic novel. Just, let them take their time. When it comes out, it comes out.
Good Lord, you got Kirby and Stan Lee together for that one Silver Surfer thing in the mid-'70s. It can happen.
Which was wonderful.
It was.
I think I've told the story of that before. That was actually their pitch. That was the movie pitch. That was going to be, believe it or not, a musical with songs by Paul McCartney. Well, what?
Ah. I don't know. While we were busy conning, did you see Paul McCartney at a concert? Brought Ringo Starr out on stage. Yeah, what fun. See, it's not just all about comics. We sort of pay attention to other things.
If it shows up in our Facebook feed.
If it, whatever.
Marvel wants to bankrupt us back in the
They are
trade
doing their
paperbacks.
damn best. I know we talked about this because you mentioned in previous podcasts, Annihilation Omnibus hardcover. I'm watching on the eBays because we don't have to drop our order for another week. But I do want this one. I loved Annihilation when it came out. It was a lot of fun. In the back, I'm looking, I have Annihilation Conquest, so I have kind of the sequel to it. But this one is on the definite buy. On the maybe buy, and again, I got a tough choice to make because I either going to buy Incredible Hulk Peter David Omnibus, or I'm going to buy all these other graphic novels I'm going to mention. And the thing with Incredible Hulk is that I have the Visionary ones, all except issue 5. And there's 8 issues that do the entire Peter David run, all insanely expensive because they're out of print, and out of print Marvel books tend to go up, and DC's as well. Cannot find a number 6 anywhere, not on Amazon, not on eBay's. And I'm kind of looking at it like I'm doing with Earth X. I didn't buy the Earth X Omnibus, even though it had everything in it, because I'm missing Paradise X Volume 2. And I'm kind of like, oh, what do I do? Do I wait and hope I can find this? And I don't know. I'm kind of stuck. If I do order it, I will do the direct market variant because it has that Todd McFarlane Hulk cover where he's Gray Hulk and grrr. And then there's a couple, I'm sure, Corey, we talked about it on the way up to St. Cloud.
I am very tempted to get the 2 Brian Michael Bendis Daredevil omnibuses. The problem is they're dropping it the same month as all these other omnibuses. Conan the Barbarian Volume 3.
I just turned a new series. We're Omni broke.
This is Conan 52 to 83 with the annuals. It will also reprint the Power Records Conan story, which was never printed anywhere but Power Records. Material from Boom number 14. This is one normally I will get the cover that is reprinting the cover from the original comics. This one I'm going to get the Frank Cho cover because the Conan the original cover by Gil Kane is a very generic cover and not very exciting at all. I'm looking at it and going, yeah, that's just kind of a, hey Gil, can you whip together a Conan pose and we'll photostat some stuff behind it. While the Cho cover is an excellent cover of Conan and Belit, the Queen of the Black Coast, on their ship, because this is when Conan got together with the pirate queen Belit, and a story that lasted until Conan 100.
Now, I will mention something that's kind of weird because Marvel revamped their graphic novel section. I'm not sure I like it. I don't know if I like the layout, but let's I'll pick a random one. Everybody go to, they don't put page numbers on it. Okay, Marvel Spider-Man City at War. So again, I didn't pick up the regular. It's on the list to maybe buy. You got the description, you got the title, the page of the graphic novel on the other side. And then they have what they call Coming Soon, which will be Marvel Spider-Man Velocity 1. Something set in the Gameverse. Now, if you go to the next page, you'll see they're doing something else so different. Cosmic Ghost Rider destroys the Marvel history. Not interested. But also available, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Baby Thanos Must Die. I am not sure I like this layout because I'm finding it confusing. I think it would be better if maybe you flip-flop it. The idea that you have the description under the photo of the book that's either coming soon or also available is odd. The fact that you have the cover on the other page with all these well constructed, must read, funny time, bike, borrow, ignore. I think maybe if you flip flop it, put the art over there and then also available on the other page, less confusing, because it did take me a while to figure out just what the hell are you doing here. So, and really, you guys got Disney who can help you design this shit. This is the best you come up with? especially when I got to the Rob Liefeld Major X, because I'm looking at this. Wait, I didn't get Major X Zero and the omnibus. I don't remember. Oh, it's all coming soon. Well, what is
the
it
omnibus
for?
was solicited last month.
Yeah, and if you're gonna do shit like this, do like DC's done, Marvel. Put the diamond code on it, so I can just go to my friendly local comic shop and go, hey, I'd like to get this.
Joe, do you see those numbers underneath? Flip
Where?
the page.
Of?
You're on the Liefeld page. Flip the page.
Yeah.
You see
Flip the
under
page.
Runaways? There's the diamond.
Bingo! But that's also available.
They listen to you.
Yeah, well, they got to do it for coming soon, because if it was only solicited last month, that means I could still get in on it. But yeah, the other thing that and I like that when DC did that, especially if they're doing like months between JSA or Green Lantern. Yeah, this was solicited last November, that type of thing. So hey, you're halfway there, Marvel. Just, I don't know. To me, it's money on the bank, money left on the table. Because I'm looking at coming soon. Okay, well, if I'm reading everything else right, that means it's in upcoming previews. No, it may be already solicited. You could put that. Let us know. Guide us to the water, because I ain't going to go out of the way looking for it. I still got the rest of the previews to go through. Corey, what else you got that's got you excited here?
Spider-Man Life Story, reprinting the 7-issue miniseries by Chip Zdarsky and Mark Bagley. This is kind of what if Spider-Man had aged in real time. And it's this is one that I read the first issue. Was like, yeah, this is a classic. This is one that I'm going to want in a hardcover on my shelf. They're only putting it out as a trade paperback, which is a shame. But this is an excellent story. When I reviewed the first issue, I gave it a buy. Really looking forward to that one. Later on, I already have this, so I don't need it, but there is a Marvel Visionary Steve Ditko, which reprints Ditko's kind of a cross-section of his work at Marvel. It does have the Amazing Spider-Man, the Master Planner trilogy, which is his most famous Spider-Man story ever. It's got Incredible Hulk #6, his one Daredevil story he did in the 70s, some stuff from Hulk in the 80s, as well as some of his work from the 50s. If you don't know Ditko, or you don't have the same sort of complete collection, this is a great sampler to see Ditko's work. And then all the way in the back, on page 145, Man-Wolf, the complete collection. I have no idea why they are printing this, other than the fact that it's, why not?
Yeah.
But this reprints the Man-Wolf series from the 70s, which was written by, if you take a look here, 5 writers on this series, because this was back when Marvel would change writers in the middle of a story with no problem. But after David Anthony Kraft came on, he stayed on it till the end. You got Gil Kane, Ross Andru, John Byrne, George Huss. George Perez, this was George Perez's first regular superhero book. And if you think that, it's just another werewolf story, no, it goes completely batshit insane when David Anthony Kraft takes over, and it becomes this really cool science fiction book.
Yeah, this one is on the maybe list. I mean, I love complete collections, even if it's stuff that I have. A lot of this I've never read, but it's a lot of money. I mean, their paperbacks, I mean, are $40, and
this one is
$40.
408 pages, so it's about the same size as one of the Epic line books.
Yeah. And I like those as well.
Between 450 and 500 pages.
There's a lot of money.
And then on the next page is Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane, The Unexpected Thing, which is the second collection of the series by Sean McKeever, penciled by Takahashi Miyazawa, who's currently doing Ghost Spider. Miyazawa's arc is beautiful. This is a non-continuity story of Spider-Man told by a teenage Mary Jane during their years in high school.
And my daughters loved it when they were in high school. So if you got a high school daughter, you know where I'm going with this. This is one that they should enjoy.
The other thing I found interesting is on page, let's see here, page 148, Marvelverse. These are cheap, smaller reprints of kind of some highlighting stories of characters from the movie. So you've got Thanos and Iron Man. With the price and the page count, I imagine these are aimed at the scholastic market and the young adult market. But for, let's see here, for Thanos, it reprints his first appearance, the end of the run in Captain Marvel, his reappearance, and a few other stories here and there. Iron Man, it reprints a lot of the, let's see, it's got the Marvel Adventures Iron Man #1, which was that series aimed at kids, and then some other random Iron Man stories. Basically, these are books to introduce kids to these characters, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah. When we were at the St. Cloud Public Library, Corey, you saw that? Just the graphic novel section they had was just amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I've noticed that too, because I talked about years ago when I was trying to read Ms. Marvel, and the kids are going there and they're reading these graphic novels. I don't know if they're checking them out necessarily, but they are there and people are paying attention to them. So this is very much in that vein as well. So if you do have a kids section in your shop, or you have some kids that you're looking for a Christmas gift, or you're looking to be the cool aunt or uncle, these are the books that you definitely want to pay attention to.
And now on to Dynamite, where I only have one bookmarked.
Which is?
The Red Sonja, the Complete Gail Simone Omnibus. I liked Gail Simone's run on Red Sonja because she took the character and avoided all of the cliches and just told great sword and sorcery stories.
For me, I got one there's a couple of things I want to point out. First of all, if you do like Vampirella or you do like Red Sonja, #1 of their ongoing series is there. This is kind of the, in the 70s, we call them buddy guy stories. This is kind of like Buddy Cop. This is kind of like the female version of that, where they get together and they're just going to hang out and do stuff. So their first issue is there if you're so inclined. I am intrigued on page 201. They have the collectible coin, and there's two different ones. One is by Lucio Perillo. The other one is by J. Scott Campbell. Interesting. These are the type of things when I had a comic store, I would definitely order, because you ain't going to see these in a lot of shops. There's a beautiful Frank Thorne 45th anniversary collector statue based on one of his covers from Marvel, and I'm not a statue guy, but this one's really good, and also they're like $250. And if you're so inclined and you got $200, there is an Elektra Deluxe Spectral Switchboard set. Again, this would be something if I had the big store, maybe not so much the little store, although I'd probably do it anyways now with the eBays. I'd pick up this and just put it there, because one of the things I love doing when I get to a store is looking. I see what they have that nobody else does. It could be a Golden Age, could be Silver Age. I even remarked about that when we left Granite City. We swung by and he happened to be open before the Library Con, and I was like, just the gold and the Silver Age these guys get. I mean, it's just amazing. It's fun to look at, and it's usually pretty decent shape, so it's priced accordingly. This is one of those pieces that I would love. Plus it has a limited signed photo of Elvira, and hey, if you're one to use a Ouija board, might as well do it in style. You know what I'm saying? But pretty much that's it. I mean, I do got a couple books I buy, but we've talked about those in past, so you can check it out. Next up is Boom. And
there is a book I want to point out immediately.
Ooh, okay, go for it.
Page 216.
Okay.
Firefly the Sting, featuring Saffron. Saffron is the character that was played by Christina Hendricks.
Yes.
Hamina.
Now, had they had a photo cover, Corey would already be on his way to Boom Studios and demanding an advance copy, even though this is coming out in September. What's the price and page count on this bad boy?
Let me take a look here.
It is the first ever original graphic novel, not reprints.
128 pages for $19.99.
And I've said it before, if you're got a Firefly fan, this is your Christmas gift right here. I will go back one page to Something is Killing the Children. I'm not big on horror movies, but I do like horror comics for some reason. And this was, again, it's a mini-series, and I just thought I'd give it a shot. When the children of Archer's Peak begin to go missing, everything seems hopeless. Most children never return, but the ones that do have terrible stories, impossible stories of terrifying creatures that live in the shadows. Their only hope? Her name is Erica Slaughter. She kills monsters. That's all she does, and she bears the cost because it must be done. Okay, got my attention. It looks interesting. Some pieces of the artwork and cover, just enough to wet my whistle, and I do believe I will jump on board with that.
We have found out, after Boom, we found out what Charlie Adlard is going to be doing now that Walking Dead is over.
Which is?
Vampire State Building.
That is one of those that I'm like, maybe, I don't know.
That's a great title. I don't know if the comic will be any good, but what a great title. And interesting that Charlie Adlard already has signed up a new gig. So, newest horror series and they are shoving his name all over everything on this one.
Mm-hmm. Very so. And really, if you got a comic store, you might as well, if you're going to buy this, you might as well do the same. I mean, one of the things I always thought of doing, I did it right before Hot Comics, is I would make displays of, hey, here's this guy doing it. And if you see articles in the paper, especially Entertainment Weekly, where they're pimping a comic book or a creator, put it up. Let people know. A lot of, we did it too when CM Punk was writing comics. We're like, hey, we like CM Punk. We like his comics. Check it out. It's up to you because, no one else is going to do it.
Well, and let's remember, people follow creators, not characters as much, especially when you get to the indie books.
Ablaze LLC, that was on page 246. And you got a number of covers to choose from, all the same price. So you can have, it's that Tim mentioned that when we were up in Granite City. He said a lot, especially with DC, a lot of the covers now seem to be dropping where they're no longer, they're orderable. They're no longer, I got to order 200 to get it. Except for Marvel. Marvel still does that. I'm just looking down my list here alphabetically.
Archie has a new series that I'm going to be all over. That is Archie 55 from Mark Waid and Brian Augustyn, who did the Archie 41. This is what if the Archie characters were around in 1955, drawn by Tom Grummett, who also did Teen Titans back in the day and just recently did Section 0. So, let's see. Can a rocking teenager from a small sleepy town find fame and fortune through this new phenomenon called rock and roll?
Never last.
I really like the Archie 41, and I imagine I will like this one as well. And anytime Mark Waid's going to write Archie, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
We have talked in the past about Avatar Press doing what they call what we call warehouse dumps.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing another warehouse dump, this time of their hardcovers.
And if you're a Lady Death fan, they're doing it with Lady Death stuff in Boundless. So but we talked about this a bit because I've got to go through and look at what I bought last year during one of their warehouse dumps. Because much as I like, I don't, just because I have it in paperback doesn't mean I automatically watch it in hardcover. But some really, really good deals to be had. Is there anything specific you're going to buy because you know you don't have it?
No, because most of the hardcovers they are pushing are ones that they already sold in paperback. Because I was looking at the Freak Angel stuff, because that was a webcomic Warren Ellis did, so it actually had a conclusion. Yeah. But I looked at it, it's like, oh, I have all the trade paperbacks for that, so I don't need the hardcovers.
And if you don't, these are all signed and numbered, so that's kind of cool.
I always think it's weird that they are doing all these huge dumps where they're selling their stuff for pennies on the dollar month after month after month. In my mind, that's never a good sign. So
maybe it's just too much. I don't know. I'll push you back all the way to page 275 because you flipped over Alterna Comics. These are the guys who do the comics for like a $150, $199, often on newsprint, because they have a new one called God and Gears. It's going to be a 4-issue series, only $1.50 a pop. After racing mishaps strands Jimmy Shotgun King somewhere in time, see, you always get me with time travel, he meets Ellie, a young adventurer toying with magic and mysteries far beyond his control. Godlike beings, future tech, and an advanced race of gorillas round out this sword and sorcery adventure. And it's an all-ages book, but I figure 4 issues at $1.50, heck, I've spent that at my last fast food outing. So Alterna's one I look at every month just to see, because they do have cheap stuff. Heck, I might even buy right below it. There's one, ICUMI. I don't even know how you pronounce it. But it's only 99 cents for 24 pages. I drop $1 on all the other stuff. I might as well drop $1. I'll review it. Give you. So I will spend $1 so you don't have to. You see how good I am? I'm just flipping forward because at Alterna Comics, and there was one God and Gears 4-issue miniseries. And as I'm flipping through their stuff, I'm trying to find it. Oh, no, that was the one I mentioned. Alterna Comics is Twice Shy original graphic novels. And I can't find them. Did I piss American Gothics? American? There we go. Nope. Yep. Twice Shy graphic novel. Actually, right down the line. Gods and Gears, ICY, Twice Shy graphic novel. This is one of the graphic novels that I want it, but I'm going to have to. I'm on a budget, unfortunately. Joel Orloff, and it reads, and you'll see why. Bob Frank is a Twin Cities cab driver. Oh, I love local stuff. And part-time cartoonist without much direction in his life. A surprise postcard from a long-lost love opens up a whole new world. Bob is an artist with a creative block who loses himself in an aimless existence, while Casey suffers from deep-seated anxiety and feelings of abandonment. Brought together through unexpected circumstances, they begin to open up and trust each other, gradually finding their fears of being hurt are overcome by the simple joys they now share. $14.99, based in the Twin Cities. I'm not even sure if Joel's a local creator or not, but I will. That is definitely on the list to look at.
Let's see. I actually want to jump ahead to Comic Mix, which is a website that talks about comics, not as active as it once was, but they also do some publishing. They are publishing some of the stuff from Claypool Comics. So they've got Deadbeats Omnibus Volume 2, which reprints issues 13 through 24 of the series by Richard Howell, and Soul Searchers and Company, which was a series by Peter David and Amanda Connor, and they're reprinting issues 13 through 24. These were kind of sporadic when they came out. I enjoyed both of them. I especially love Soul Searchers and Company by Peter David. It was
Yes.
Peter David being very snarky and letting his sense of humor run wild while still doing kind of a horror comedy, basically. Former Olympic athlete with an enchanted vaulting pole, a cocksure Arabian fire demon, a CPA with a magic bag, an apprentice witch, and a boy who changes into monsters. And they're detectives. So, these are the second volumes of that. They have not seen print for over 20 years. So, really good comics. Good to see them back in print. I doubt they will sell much better than they did originally, but it's still really good stuff. And you get really early Amanda Connor art. You will not recognize her art.
I'll take a quick stop on page 311. Chick and Brain, Smell My Foot hardcover. It's an offbeat story for beginning readers that will have them in fits and giggles. Maybe your foot smells good. Maybe your foot smells great. But I will not smell your foot until you say please. Meet Chick and Brain and their friend Spot. Chick likes to follow rules. Brain reader loaded with verbal and visual humor. The creator, C.C. Bell, offers this is a comical primer on good manners gone array. Again, another book that would be a lot of fun for kids or just silliness. I mean, geez, how could you? I smell my phone. How could you not love a title like that on a graphic novel? We talked a bit about what was her name? Raina
Telgemeier.
Yeah, her newest books is coming out. Guts. So I don't know how many. Corey, you figure out how many sell in comic shops versus how many sell in the real world. It's really disproportionate, but you should have these because this is what the kids are buying, folks. Let's see, where are we? I had a trio here. Go. What do you got next, Corey? Well, I flip my pages to my next stuff.
Page 321, Drawn and Quarterly's got a whole bunch of stuff, but they have the newest book by Lynda Barry about making comics. Lynda Barry is an alternative comic artist who has had web strips, is known outside the comics world. She's got a new book out, and they have some of her old ones, but the one I am going to get is Melvin Monster Volume 3. This is John Stanley, who I've talked about in the past. He did the Little Lulu comic. He did the Nancy comic. Melvin Monster was a monster in the real world. John Stanley stuff is timeless. It's just wonderful cartooning, always funny. It's expensive. It's 112 pages for $25, but the books are beautifully made. The covers themselves are just masterpieces, and really looking forward to this. It reprints the old Dell comics, so I wish they'd reprint his Nancy comics. Those Nancy comics were just amazing. And I remember as a kid reading the Nancy comics and going, "Oh, this is so good." Then I'd read the Nancy comic strip, which has its own charm. But as a kid, I'd go,
"Not the same.
This sucks.
Not the Nancy.
I want it to be the Nancy comic book." And the Little Lulu comics are getting another reprinting through Drawn and Quarterly. Again, they are just beautiful children's books. Back when Russ Cochran was reprinting the EC books in those big slip cases, he also reprinted all of the Little Lulu comics in those slip cases. He also reprinted all the Carl Barks stuff in those slip cases as well. Those are long gone and probably going for thousands of dollars at this point.
From Fantico on page 330, I am looking to pick up Margot Intergalactic Trash Collector. First in a new series, when the ultimate weapon falls into the wrong hands, the only thing standing between it and universal annihilation is an alien traitor and an intergalactic trash collector. With an attitude, 2 covers to choose from. There's a Joe Stanton limited cover, which I will probably go for just because I kind of like the art a little better. Margot may be the last hope for the universe. You knew that would happen. Across from it, again, one of the graphic novels I'm looking at from, I don't know how you pronounce it, First Second, I guess.
Yes,
Are you listening? Graphic novel. Oh, I should mention the Trash Collector was written, drawn, and by Jim Whiting. Are You Listening? Graphic novel is from Tilly Walden. And I'm just going to read it. It's for fans of Speak and We Are Okay. That's a couple of the graphic novels. Intimate and emotionally soaring story about friendship, grief, and healing from an Eisner Award-winning Tilly Walden. Bee is on the run, then she runs into Lou. The duo embark on a long drive to nowhere, but strange happenings, some whimsical, some terrifying, seem to follow them no matter where they go. Bee and Lou are both looking for something on the road, and the journey itself may turn out to be exactly what they need. It's a magical, realistic adventure, rich with suspense, heartbreak, startling revelations about betrayal, sexual assault, death, and exquisite examples of deeply human connections that will pretty much stay with you long after the finally gloriously illustrated page. Available in hardcover and softcover for a few dollars difference. I'm always prone to go hardcover just because if you did decide you didn't like it, it's probably more, more sellable, if you decide you don't really want it. And another graphic novel that is again, like I said, a lot of these graphic novels on page 334 under Gallery 13. Frog Catchers by Jeff Lemire. Experience a surreal descent into one man's psychosis in this haunting and chilling graphic novel. Jeff Lemire is a New York Times best-selling author. The synopsis: a man wakes up alone in a strange room with no recollection of who he is, how he got there. The padlocked doors and the barren lobby reinforces the strangeness of this place. This is, as he reads from an old-fashioned keychain beside his bed, the Edgewater Hotel. Even worse, something ominous seems to be lurking in one of the rooms. But when he meets a young companion, the only other soul in this vast emptiness, his new friend begs him not to unlock the door. Interesting. So, again, another, I do read previews. I do read the small print. I mean, you got to catch me in the artwork, but sometimes you catch me in the description. And that one definitely is on the list. What else do you have, Mr. Strode, that's got you excited?
On page 380, Pantheon Books is publishing the new Chris Ware graphic novel, Rusty Brown. This is 3 complete. Let's see here. You could go ahead and read the description yourself.
It's big.
It's big. It's Chris Ware. Chris Ware did a number of just classic comics in the 90s, including The Smartest Boy in the World. Chris Ware, just look at that cover and you'll see that he's a design genius. He's an artist. I will buy whatever he does. I don't need a description. It's, oh, Chris Ware did it, I'm buying it. Let's see, what was else? I want to point out something, Joe. Please go to page 384.
384.
Take a look at Pre-Code Classics, Atomic War, Captain Courageous. It's another one of those PS art books, the people who reprint the stuff from public domain stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The regular edition is $51.99.
Well, it's not, I mean, kind of.
It's over expensive.
Yeah,
the slipcase edition, $5,699. I'm sure it's a reprint, but still.
I am all over that like Oprah on a canned ham. Ooh.
These are the ones that show up at Half Price Book and Magazines for $12 about a month before they come out in the comic shops.
Meanwhile, back on page 361, May Volume 2 is out from Gene Ha. This he started out as a Kickstarter, went to Dark Horse, and now has found a home at Lion Forge. And I love the story. It's about May and Abby. They're in another world. I got to reread it because one of the sisters like disappeared for ages, and when she shows up again, she gets a younger sister involved, and they're out looking for their father, and they uncover sinister secrets, piece together a darker history, and it comes out as regular book, but I just wait a regular comic, but I do wait for the graphic novels because that's how I choose to read it. Hey, Corey. Do we need another autobiography of or a biography of Stan Lee?
Well, this one is by Danny Fingeroth, who worked at Marvel for a long time, but
it's from St. Martin's Press on page 399.
I like Danny Fingeroth. He was worked on the Spider-Man books in the 90s, but I don't know what new he can bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, if they sold it as kind of a "this is my life with Stan Lee" type of thing, which I believe is a title somebody else took, but I'm intrigued, but again, you've heard all this stuff I really want. This one, and I will point out, but unfortunately, it's going to fall off the list unless I suddenly win the lottery in the next couple days. We're getting towards the end. Anything else you got on the list?
Page 393.
393.
Simon & Schuster Young Reader Books, believe it or not, Cursed, which is by Frank Miller and Tom Wheeler. It is a spin on the Arthurian mythos in an illustrated young adult novel. Whosoever wields the sword of power shall be king, but what if the sword was chosen by a queen? Miller helped with the plot and illustrated this prose novel.
That another one on my I wish I was rich list. This is probably why I'm this month I tend to be going more for just comic books, because if you go back to page 391 under Scout Comics, the Forever Maps, and I don't know what they mean by the newest entry in the binge, and I'm kind of confused because they say it's a binge imprint where Scout, the publisher, releases a world premiere issue followed by the entire story a few months later in one volume.
Yes.
So this is the preview, is what they're saying.
What it is, they print it as a comic series, and a trade paperback at the same time.
Okay, because I don't see a Forever Maps book unless there was one last month.
No, it'll be coming out later.
Okay, because it sounds interesting. It's let's see if apparently, okay, I see what they're saying. In 1794, a young man named John is given a map. Curious, he follows it, and when he arrives at the end, he finds a similar map. This leads him to another, then another, and on and on. Determined to find something, anything, he continues to follow the maps. Decades later, he learns that as long as he follows the map, he doesn't get any older. It's not till at least a century later he realizes when he stops, time starts catching up with him. And now he has to decide, because he's torn between family and immortality, he must continually choose between living forever or having a life worth living. So if this is just the teaser, I will probably forego it, because I will buy the graphic novel, because that intrigues me beyond no end. So kudos to you, Scout. I hope the graphic novel is as good, because I really want to pick this sucker up. Anything else as we get towards the end of the alphabet?
Now Joe, Floppy Cop is coming out with the first trade paperback. So
I know
you talked about it on previous episodes. Is it worth buying? Is it any good?
It's humorous. It's interesting art. It's in my pile to be read. 3 issues are out so far, but I really can't say one way or another. I did buy one, but from what I looked at, if you like the humorous, you like the art such as it is you see on the cover, go for it. Come get some. That's all I can say. It's all I can say.
We flip back to Tomorrow's Publishing. We got a new issue of Alter Ego.
Stan Lee tribute. We are on it like Oprah on well, you know the rest.
And also the World of Tomorrow's softcover. In 1994, amidst the boom and bust of comic book speculators, Jack Kirby Collector #1 was published for true fans of the medium, and they are still around. So this goes into, basically, it is a book by Tomorrows about Tomorrows. It's their history.
Interesting.
I am excited about that. Underneath, you'll see the American Comic Book Chronicles, age 1965 to 69. I cannot recommend these books enough. They're excellent books if you want to learn about comic history. And really, for me, that was it for the previews this month. Wasn't any manga that jumped at me.
Well, are you a fan of the one that jumped at me was what I talked about already, and I think I'm pronouncing it Menage 3. I know "twa" is the word, but on the cover they use the letter 3. And this is by I have no idea, Gelsay LaGrace and David Hunsum. And it's a hijink-filled thing about, there's a 20-year-old virgin named Gary, and he has 2 way hotter than his roommates. And the first 3 volumes came out, and they are hilarious. They are sexy. They are funny. They are. I just absolutely love reading it. It is a web strip, so if you want to read it that way, you can. But volume 4 is coming out under the manga section. So that's about the only manga that and believe me, I enjoy this a lot. I really, really had to stop because I don't want to, I just want to wait for the book. I know I can catch up on the web strip, but another one that I highly, highly recommend. There is one book that I had down, and it's way back because we blitzed the alphabet pretty good. But if you're a fan of Lady Death and you're into Coffin Comics, you go to page 314. Not only do you get a chance to get the reorder of Lady Death on Holy Ruin, but they have one that I may pick up called La Musra Ascension One Shot. And it's basically about somebody who wants to rip Miss Murta's life into bloody shreds. Soon the hunter becomes the hunted. And good artwork. I do believe they were pushing this on a Kickstarter. And I'm kind of curious about it. So, and they have a number of, you can get the standard cover or go for the $25 raw edition black and white cover. Just like the Lady Death below it, you can get the standard covers or get the premium foil cover or get the naughty cover. Ooh. But that's it for previews. I mean, I didn't see anything. I mean, I see a lot of things, but other than that, I will have what I normally do is I write down everything I want, toss it in the website, and then I look at the total, have a heart attack. Not working. The turkey through. That's in the first 7, right? I don't know. And then I'm going to have to make some serious cuts. You know, what's going to go? I like I said, the number one is the maybe the Peter David Incredible Hulk Omnibus, because I imagine that's on Marvel Unlimited as well. And it just kills me to have 7 out of the 8 Marvel Visionaries, and I just can't find that one. Bastards. Corey, well, you know what I need? I need to know who is not a bastard.
Why, it's these guys, our sponsors. Promotional consideration is paid for by the following sponsors. Our first sponsor is DreamHost.com. DreamHost.com has been with us since the beginning. They're the best web host in the whole known universe. And if you need a web host, and you do because, you know, Facebook, Google+, everything gets hacked. But if you set up your own web page, it'll never get hacked. Unless you kind of make some mistakes or pick an easy password like password. But still, you can have your own web page. If you use the code CRAYZ, K-R-A-Y-Z, you get $20 off your first year. When you're at the office, do you often run to the vending machine for snacks? Those things are terrible for you. Instead, have snacks delivered to you. So go to Graze.com. Graze.com has healthy snacks that you can decide what kind of snacks you want, how often you want them, whether they get delivered to you, or if you choose them every time. I myself get the subscription box every 2 weeks so that I have healthy things to eat when I'm at work. You can get a free box by using the code CORYS3R5P. Matter of fact, use that code your 5th and your first box are free. Again, that's CORYS3R5P. If you'd like to advertise on any of the Solitaire Rose Podcast Network shows, you can. Just send us an email at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks.
And tell you what, while Corey's off running to the can, I will talk about my eBays. Because that's, you know me, I love the eBays. And while Corey and I were out playing around up north, I got to apologize because, and I posted this on our Facebook page, but I decided just to do a quick half price sale, looking at things that either the price has dropped or I've been sitting on the inventory for so long or just things that I want to move. And I've had a pretty good response because a lot of the things I've been selling, I've got like 10 things I've got to box up and ship by tomorrow morning because I like to get them out one day quick. And there's such things as, you know, I put up what I had of my kitchen sink press Little Abner collection, and volume 10 sold because I had it real low. A book called Strictly Independent. It came from One Shot Press back in 1996, and it was basically kind of a magazine that comic size that talked all about and showed off different types of independent comics and stuff. And, you know, again, this is long before the interwebs. Right now, everything is interwebs. But back then, this was a magazine that was really the only way you could find out about independence because, you know, you had the advanced comics, you had the previews, you had the Heroes Illustrated, all that stuff. So a lot of these books have actually become valuable, either because nobody collected them and nobody thought to keep them, or there may be a collection in it. And I had the one, and I just half priced it, and I didn't sell it. I had a Virgin Art cover of Angel #2. That's the current book from Boom. You know, we talked about different types of licensing and things like that. Some old stock that I had a very fine copy of Strange Tales 153. I decided to half price just because it's one of the few I've actually had left. And I have it all reprinted in either omnibus or trade paperback form, or essentials possibly. So, hey, had a deal on it. So somebody got a deal, a very fine copy for $11. I had 5 different WizKid comics. This was a Radio Shack giveaway. Radio Shack, of course, I believe long out of business, used to be the big electronics store. And my dad would go there because they had this battery club card. You'd go in, and every month you could pick up some new batteries. So he always was cycling through. A's, D's were big because the flashlights took them. 9 volts were always in demand. And I have a number of them. And it was almost like every month they came out with, I have no idea how many there are. I'd have to go look in the buyer's guide. But I had 3 of the WizKid ones. I had one of the ones where Superman and Wonder Woman were together. And then there was one called The Science Fair Story of Electronics. And I just heard Corey come back. Corey, I'm talking about the eBays.
Oh!
Did you ever pick up the Radio Shack giveaway comics?
I did not, because believe it or not, where I grew up, there was not a Radio Shack.
Wow. Yeah, and I don't know. These are comics that I've just picked up over time. I had a 5-issue run, and I just put it at half price and got rid of it. For the cons, remember I said our good buddy Al Payne gave us a bunch of variant covers from Dynamite. I had one, the Vampirella Valentine Day Special #1 Virgin Art cover. I half priced it and moved it on. Somebody got it, and then that money's going to go right to the charity. Another half price one. Let's see if Corey know. Ask the Strode. We have not done this for a while. Hang on, let me check. I got the shiny new dime. Okay. I had a copy of Nova #1. Wait a minute. Are you ready, Corey?
Yes.
Okay. He's always ready because, believe me, at the con, somebody asked him a question, and the guy was nice enough to sit, and Corey wound up. The man knows his shit, I'm telling you. Nova #1, second series from 1994. I had the foil cover variant, but why was it so expensive?
Why was it so expensive?
Yeah, it was signed by somebody. Who do you think it was?
Well, our friend Mark Stegbauer did the inking on it, but
he gets the dime.
Oh, really?
I'm gonna go right with it. This was one that back in 1994, they had Mark Stegbauer up at Granite City Comics in St. Cloud on the 14th of November, 1993. That would have been the month. No, that was a year after Superman died. So we had the shop for a month. 92 is when that passed away. And this was one of number 33 of only 50 that he signed. And I had it on the Facebooks and the eBays, and I just half priced it. Somebody is going to be a proud owner of it. My last copy of Arsenic Lullaby, The Devil's Only Friend, comic exclusive mini comic, not only signed by Doug, but he had a really cool sketch on the back. I had 2 of them. They're both gone. Lady Death Swimsuit, 2005. Again, this is from Avatar, and we were just talking about Avatar and Boundless blowing out these different covers. So if you're a Lady Death fan and want to look at some really cool artwork covers, now's the time to go check it out, because my copy of the Lady Death Prism foil variant cover, the swimsuit issue, somebody made a best offer on, and I took it. See how easy I am. I talked about getting the run of Strike Force Moriarty and, of course, the Electric Undertow 1 through 5. Sold the complete run. Corey, guess how much for? It was during my half price sale, by the way.
$15.
Close, 19. But with free shipping, it ended up being 15 in my pocket. So, I have the graphic novels, and I just sold the complete run. Green Hornet #2. I just picked this one up last week. It was a fair to good reading copy with a great photo cover from Gold Key, and I priced it out accordingly, and somebody bought it and was very happy with it. Said they enjoyed the heck out of it, because it was not really a collector type copy, but if you wanted to read it, this is the one to go. On Age of X-Man, Amazing Nightcrawler #1 variant cover. I think I don't think, yeah, this sold after our last podcast, and I had it up. I hit it up for half price. Somebody bought it. And from my original run of Amazing Spider-Man, when I picked it up, this was number 170 in fine shape. I ended up selling it for $9. And if you're so inclined listening to this here podcast, you can say, yes, it was one of the Cray originals, because I started at 178 and I went back. I sold a copy of On the Road with Andrea Crouch. He was this was the Spire comic back in 1977, and he, of course, was a pastor, a singer. I guess passed away in 2015, and it was just, he did one book for this, obviously, because Spire Comics was heavily influenced by Christian. Because they were sold right in the actual Christian bookstores. I remember seeing racks of these, like, how come I never see these in comic shops? And boy, I wish I'd have picked up. I've picked up various ones over the last couple years, and of course the big ones are Archie crossovers. This one was based on a real person, which I thought was really cool. And the way up to St. Cloud, I talked about, Corey, about this one. In a couple of years ago, 2014, Dark Horse did a reprint of Rat Gods, which I believe, was that Heavy Metal, or was that from Millennium Comics? Richard Corbin did it.
I honestly don't know. I would imagine it was through Heavy Metal, though.
Yeah, and Dark Horse got a hold of it, reprinted it. I got it. I put it on the eBays. I never read it. I looked through it, but it was just one of those that I never read. And the urge to sell trumps sometimes the urge to read, because then I'm kind of kicking myself. Really? Did I really just sell this and I never read it? Yes, I do a lot of that. And you can check to see what's left on the eBays. I started, Corey, by apologizing, because after we got off the podcast, I decided to whip out my semi-annual half-price sale, where I just go through and half-price a bunch of things that have just been sitting there. But I'll probably do another sale. I'll either lower prices on some stuff, or I will just do like a 10% across the board. Most of my stuff's free shipping. And of course, you as a dear listener of the show can not only listen, or you as a dear listener of our show, send me an email. I might do a quick deal for you. I might toss in a freebie. I got lots of stuff, and I'm really just having fun blowing it out. So check it out, eBay, Crazy, Krayz. Corey listed it in his website. You know how to get there. You can come get some.
And now we get to my favorite part of the show. No, not Frank fall off into a corner and fall asleep. Now it's Freaking and Geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
I did not get to go to Half Price's infamous coupon sale, which was going on this week. Matter of fact, today, as we record, they're doing their 50% off. What it is, they send out your coupons Monday, Tuesday, 20% off one item. Wednesday, Thursday, 30, Friday, Saturday, 40, Sunday, 50% off. And in the past, I've taken these coupons and I hit every single Half Price store in town. This time around, I didn't, partially because I knew we were going to go do the St. Cloud Con, partially because if the stars align, the next podcast will be our often talked about but never executed Southern Triangle corner of Southern Minnesota, where we go down and we visit some of the comic shops we've heard about down there. And I can't be blowing a lot of money if I'm planning to go blow a lot of money. So I missed it. Although it's only 3:00 as we drop this. Could I have price? Maybe I will go buy something. I don't know. Hipwatch 2 Electric Boogaloo is we will get an update next week, because on Friday I go in and talk to the doctor, and I hopefully will set a date. And then next week we will probably announce Podcast with Corey Contest 2, the Electric Boogaloo returns, or Podcast 2. Can you have two Electric Boogaloos going at the same time?
Why, yes, it's Hipwatch 2.
Yes,
Electric Boogaloo.
But Podcast with Corey 2. Would that be Electric Boogaloo 2?
Sure.
Okay, we'll go with it. We're easy. So I'll be looking forward, sort of, maybe not really, to talk more about that next week. Everything else is tied into our trip to St. Cloud Con, and I believe we will drop that in a couple weeks. By we, I mean, of course, Corey, because he's going to whip it into a real live podcast. What's your freaking on, Mr. Strode?
This is the first night I have slept in my bed in over 3 weeks. I did the overnights at the group home. At my office job, they've also arm twisted me into overtime. So while I like the fact that next week my paycheck is going to be huge, when I got to sleep in this morning, I woke up around 9:30 and just laid in bed until 11:30. I turned on the TV, put it on something I could listen to, closed my eyes and laid there. I didn't sleep, but I just rested. And I'm still exhausted. Tonight I do an overnight shift. And then Thursday and Friday, I do an overnight shift. So most of this week, I will be home in the evening. The house is just a nightmare because literally I've only been home 2 hours a night. So I come home, take care of what I can take care of, do laundry so I have clean clothes the next day to change to at the gym, and get on the road again. So, comic-wise, I have not paid attention to anything. I do know that the new numbers came out and they are down from last year. And at the convention, here's the big thing I'm freaking on. At the convention yesterday, a gentleman came up and talked about how comics are, comics are dying. And Joe, I don't know if you were there for this, but the first thing I said was, I want you to go upstairs and look at the young adult section and the comic section. And I want you to see just how many books there are. There are tons of books up there, and a lot of them are ones that comic shops can't sell. Just because a comic shop can't sell, and I had the librarian there too, and I actually turned to him and I said, how many copies of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur the first volume did you get? And he said, oh, we got 10 of those. And we've got 10 of every one since. And I said, and this is St. Cloud. This is not a big city. Sales for these books are through libraries, they're through Scholastic, they're through bookstores, they're through Amazon, and on and on and on. And we've got these people who, they want the 90s back so goddamn bad. They think that comic shops are the only market. And he was even saying, well, Disney and Warner may shut them down. I said, no, if you look at what Disney and Warner are doing, Marvel and DC are pivoting over to other markets. I talked today in previews about those 2 Marvel Universe books, one for Thanos and one for Iron Man. Those aren't going to sell at all in comic shops. They're not. And they're not supposed to. On the next page was Marvel Rising, which is Squirrel Girl and Ms. Marvel and 2 other young female heroes. They're going to sell outside the comic market. First cosplayer that I saw, and the only one I took a picture of, Joe, was a 5-year-old girl dressed as Spider-Gwen.
Yeah. I did actually get quite a bit of cosplayers, and I was going to mention in Geeking, but I'm going to actually have a album set up so people can look and see what we did. Some of it's taken from Steph's website, Steph Kofel, some from the reporter that was there from WJON, a lot from mine. I took a lot on the camera, including a couple I don't think Corey has seen yet, as well as I've lifted a few off your page. So I'm just going to make a big album. You guys can take a look at it, and then, of course, when we drop the podcast, you can go along. I know what you're talking about. But, yeah, that Spider-Gwen was so cute.
But I want to point out, here's a 5-year-old girl who knows Spider-Gwen.
Did she respond to Ghost Spider or Spider-Gwen, or didn't it matter?
Both.
Cool.
And the other thing is, the Spider-Gwen comic doesn't sell real well. You know why they're pushing the character so hard? Because little girls are buying the toys and the graphic novels and all that. There's going to be a Spider-Gwen movie. Just a Spider-Gwen comic, they have to keep restarting it to keep fan interest. But outside the comic world, this is a big character. You've got to open your eyes to what's going on outside the comic shops, because that's where the publishers are going to be moving. And I make that point all the time, but it surprised me that the whole comics are dying because I can't get people fighting each other in every comic book. is spreading into the mainstream. And these people who are the Chicken Littles are just, they're causing more problems than they're solving. Joe, what you geeking on?
I didn't talk a lot about it last week because it was something we just did, but I did mention Stranger Things a couple times in this here podcast. But my wife and I did watch Stranger Things 3. Enjoyed it. What was cool about it is I got home from work and I stopped. I got some Fireball. I got some cider. I don't even have to buy wine. Chris has it ready to go. Hit McDonald's, and it was a hot day. We hadn't had the AC fixed. Did I mention the bad AC smell we had on the podcast?
I don't know.
I don't, but it's taken care of. Chris called somebody in and they rewired everything and said, whoever fixed this thing was an idiot. Well, we had a friend of a friend and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, the smell's gone now, but we sat down and we did something we have never done on any show. We binged everything. Usually we'll watch something, we'll get to a natural starting point, or we'll get to a point where like, oh my God, it's so good, but I gotta sleep tomorrow. Okay, one more episode. But we just sat with the goal to watch the entire thing. Started about somewhere around 7 and ended at 3 in the morning. And I had a blast. It was so much fun to do that, just to watch everything. Kind of reminded me of Justice League, where the characters were all off in their own little world, and then they weaved together and ended up together in the finale. They left some stuff on the table. I cannot believe there would not be a Stranger Things 4. The 80 references were brilliant. I mean, I've told Corey you should really, when you finally get time, check this one out, because if you don't appreciate the storyline, maybe you get a kick out of all the 70s stuff. I can't get a hold of them. Why? Because they took the phone off the hook. Yes, that's a dilemma you and I had, Corey. Nowadays, kids, they didn't respond to my Instagram. So just a lot of fun, and I recommend it. It's going to be real interesting when Disney drops, when Warner drops their streaming service, as to what's going on. A lot of things have been canceled. There's a lot of speculation. I think my friends and I, we talk about it constantly at work. Like, have you watched this? Did you watch it? Did you get a chance to watch this? All I know is when Disney's ready, I'm giving, what did they say, $6.95 a month?
I've heard anywhere from $6 to $10. So as long as they keep it under $10, they're fine.
Oh yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I got a lot of stuff at the con. A couple things I'm going to mention now. Stephanie Covell and Dave were touring Germany, as you want to know, because we like to feature their music. And they brought back, Corey and I both, a Captain Marvel Die officially Vorgestorben zum Film. Yes, I haven't spoken German in like decades, but it's a photo cover of, I believe, is this the first issue of Captain Marvel, or is it?
No, it's a bunch of reprints. It's a tie-in to the movie.
I don't even recognize where, it's Captain Marvel Prelude, the one that had Nick Fury on the cover. And then they show the cover of, it must be Versucht Volken Captain Marvel, nur im Kino. So I thought that was nice. I absolutely adore foreign comic books, especially when the person who brings it to me bought it in the country. I mean, I've talked about, my sister left me some comics. I've had friends in the past, and I actually have my box behind me with it. My goal is to actually photograph it all and put it in an album on Facebook so I can just kind of share it. I was semi-excited because what's the name? The Books Revisited
yes.
And we'll talk more, of course, because we stopped and we checked that out. And I was excited to pick up a set of Rock and Roll Comics, The Beatles Experience, a 8-issue show from Revolutionary when they were doing unauthorized. But unfortunately, this was not a complete set. It's missing number 5 and 8, and it also included a John Lennon personality comic. So, and not that I'm worried about it. Maybe I'll pick them up on the eBays. Maybe I'll just blow these out on the eBays. I do not know. But I was excited to buy them. A little disappointed when I opened it, but it was kind of a geeking within a freaking. What I should have done is maybe just open the damn thing and count. I counted 8 comics. That's about it. Other than, spending a fun day geeking with Corey. We don't get to do it a lot. and going to Granite City, saw more people than I cared. Well, actually, I said that wrong. I saw more people I was excited to see. Some people I was surprised to see. Some we were unexpectedly, and we'll talk about it more when. What do you think of dropping that in 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
At some point.
Yeah, I'll be gone.
It's a fill-in.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to be gone a couple times because my wife and I are planning to go to the Blueberry Fest up in Ely, Minnesota. Because you know me, I love blueberries, and the thought of blueberry pie, look at that, I'm drooling. Ain't I, Corey? I'm drooling. Blueberry pie, yeah. So I imagine that will drop on the 5th of August. So I wanted to drop too far because it was St. Cloud Com from 25 years ago. Here's our recollection on it.
Although that would be fun.
It could be. Anyways, by the time they'll be in St. Cloud Con number 26. Anyways, that's all I'm geeking on. Mr. Strode, what you be geeking on?
At the full-time job, we are about to enter our quiet phase. We will be actually pretty quiet between now and early October. We have finished all of our dependent verification clients. Open enrollment usually starts in October. And this is the time of year where people call if, okay, I don't have my medical card and I don't know who to call to get it, or I've had a baby, or I've got coverage elsewhere. So
Wait a minute. How often do you want to scream, Ghostbusters? Never mind.
And so the call numbers are down, and they actually said that, if we've got all of our work done, we can read books. Cannot have any electronic devices. So I can't use my Kindle, which is loaded with stuff I want to read. So the books I've been buying at used bookstores I'm bringing in. Last week I read 3 novels. I read a Doc Savage novel, which was one of the new ones written by Will Murray, The Whistling Wraith, which just felt like an old Doc Savage novel except twice as long and was a lot of fun to read. I read The Bird King by G. Willow Wilson, who, again, known for Ms. Marvel, and now is on Wonder Woman. It was a book set in the 1400s in Alhambra, Spain, as the last Muslim outpost was absorbed by the Inquisition. So 2 of the characters escape, and it is about their escape. I don't want to spoil anything for it, but it's just such a beautifully written book. It's a shame that it kind of falls apart in the 3rd act, in that we get a conclusion, and then it's almost like she looked and went, oh crap, it needs to be longer, so she had a second conclusion. And the second conclusion didn't quite work because it felt really tacked on and as if the story had been put on fast forward. And then the last book I read was the first of the Harry Hole books by Joe Nesbo, who's a Norwegian mystery writer who, I think it was about 1.5 years ago when we went to Half Price Books, they had this huge display of all his stuff. And I said, no, I'll give it a try. So I picked up the first one, and the first one is called The Bat, and it was not great. It was okay. It was not great, had a number of flaws, and some of the flaws I think were from the translation. But in the other reviews I read, it's like, okay, he doesn't really get better until the 4th novel, but you need to read this one because it sets up all this stuff. So, but I like the fact that I'm actually getting time to read. It's actually helped in the fact that I've not been home a whole lot to decompress. The next thing I'm geeking on was we did go to Books Revisited. They're a used bookstore in St. Cloud, and they've got one up on Half Price Books in that they have a lot of used paperbacks from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. When I go to Half Price Books, it's really clear that they just want the stuff from the last 5-10 years. And they don't much care for paperback books because their hardcover section keeps growing and growing and growing. And, that's probably smart because hardcovers, you make more money off a hardcover than you do a softcover. More dollars per square inch. But Joe, I've talked. I have this love of the just disposable paperback books, the action adventure, the science fiction stuff. So I picked up a big old bag of books, mostly stuff that I haven't been able to find anywhere else by authors that kind of were journeyman authors. They weren't people who are going to be, winning prizes, but they're always putting out entertaining books. They also had some of the Ace double novels, which is this thing they did in the 60s and into the 70s, where they would take two novellas, which are 40,000 words or less, have one on one side, you flip it over, there'd be another on the other side. And they were usually, just quick, entertaining novellas. And those were a lot of fun, too. I also picked up a bunch of stuff at the library bookstore, including 4 hardcover Doc Savage books that were made by Whitman, who also were the people who published the 3-packs of DC and Gold Key books from the 70s. That was Whitman. So it's some of the old Lester Dent novels repackaged as little bitty hardcovers with some illustrations, bigger than a Big Little book, but not as big as a regular hardcover book. So I got all that. Comic-wise, box day is Tuesday, and Tuesday I don't work at the group home that night, so it'll be nice to come home on Tuesday, and because I don't have to go anywhere once I get home, I'm probably just going to open my box day, lay down on the couch, and just read comics. Just read the new comics that I got.
That's
Believe
what
it
I'll
or not,
do today,
kids.
because I didn't mention all the stuff I got at the con and stuff. I'll do that when we do our con show. But yeah, that's going to be what I get to do today, because I opened my box, got my previews out, because Corey makes me do my homework, and I get to do that today too.
Believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about funny books for almost 2 hours.
And thank you. And I didn't even get a chance to mention Fall Comic Con, the One Day Wonder, October 5th, 2019, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Minnesota State Fair Education Building.
Because you need to get educated.
Keep an eye on the website, www.mcbacomiccons.com, and their Facebook page, because I did run into Kelly before we head up to St. Cloud. He loaded me up with flyers that we did bring to the St. Cloud Library Con, and told a lot of people about the con, told a lot of people about our podcast. If you are a first-time listener to our podcast, we don't normally go 2 hours. This is a special show we do monthly based on the previews catalog. And a lot of you who are interested in comics picked up our flyer. You can go down to the Granite City Comics right down there and talk to Tim about previews. Either pick up one and go along with us as we offer our suggestions of fun things, or go back to the library, pick up some graphic novels. That was a killer graphic novel section. I think a lot of libraries have those nowadays, and it's just because we don't go to libraries, we don't see it. But, that might be places to go as well. So welcome aboard. Everything we do is free to check out and download. Maybe check out one of the episodes where we don't go on for 2 hours. We don't go on for 2 hours all the time.
Not all the time.
I try to, but Corey, he keeps a pretty tight rein on stuff, and kudos to him for doing so. So there, you got all sorts of stuff to deal with, because I got nothing.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
So, but I mean, Corey, you work an office job? I mean, you're not obviously not the group home stuff, but your HR stuff. You're in a typical cubicle, that type of thing.
Oh yeah.
So you probably know why the office of Cantaloupes was so glum, right?
No.
Because they were all Millen colleagues. Yeah, I got no music to promote this week, so don't hit my music. But if you want, I could hit the dad joke generator.
Let's hit your music.